Hey y'all, this is Whitney, and welcome back to an episode of Spastic Chatter. I took a little break there from recording, but we are back. My guest this week is Kathy O'Connell, and she runs Radiant Abilities, which is a dating and relationships type service for people with disabilities. And I'm gonna let her tell you all about it and introduce herself. So, Kathy, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Whitney. I am Kathy O'Connell, and Whitney, as you said, I run Radiant Abilities, which is a business dedicated to self-esteem, confidence, and empowerment in people with disabilities to create and live the life you want to live. And within that, I have a special niche for working with people who have disabilities and who are single and want to learn how to confidently date and be successful at dating and enjoying happy, healthy relationships.
That's awesome. And this is the topic that we could talk forever about. So there's so much to talk about with the dating relationships. But kind of tell me how you got started in this type of work. What brought you, what made you so interested in it?
Okay, well, I am a licensed mental health and counselor, and for many, many years, I worked primarily with people with disabilities. And what I would see and hear across the board was people wanted most a companionship, a companion, someone to share their life with, someone to love. And because I was counseling people, I would also hear how people felt like their disability created a significant barrier in dating and relationships. And at the same time, I was single, and in my own personal process of trying to date, putting myself out there, dealing with rejection, and noticing how that felt on my self-esteem and confidence. So as I did my own work in that area and became more confident of myself and was better able to say, hey, I have a disability and I have a lot of potential as a partner for someone else. When I was able to get to that point, it was then that I met my husband. So I thought, there's something here between how you feel about yourself and the experience you have in the dating and relationship world.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't start dating until my late 20s because I wasn't confident in myself, and it took a lot of maturing for me and gaining self-confidence to put myself out there. And even then, like I chose to go the online dating route because I felt like dating in real life. I felt like I feel like guys wouldn't give me the time of day, to be frank, because my disability is so visual. Like it's so like I can't hide the fact that I'm in a 300-pound wheelchair.
Right.
Like, but like online dating, like I can pick and choose. Like I come like my pictures come across as like I'm quote unquote normal. If that makes sense. Like, and I felt like but then again, like I chose to put my disability on my profile at the same time, but my profile picture was just a selfie, so you couldn't tell that I had a disability or not. I'm curious, how did you meet your husband?
Well, I also went the route of online dating. However, quite interesting is when I got my husband's profile through the site, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know who you are because he is a radio host in my area.
Oh, that's cool.
So I literally have been listening to him every day for years before we met.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So is your so I'm guessing your husband's able-bodied?
Correct. My husband does not have a disability.
So here, like, I'm just casually talking. Like, when I first got onto the dating sites, I had like this rule for myself that I would not date another person with a disability. So like, because I didn't want to be like, I wanted to be, I guess, treated like, I keep saying normal, like, but I didn't want to date another person with a disability. So um but long story short, after dating able after dating after going on a few dates with able bodied guys, and not being treated not being treated the way I wanted to be treated, um I've my fiance now messaged me, and he's also in a wheelchair. And we met on a dating site, and I almost did not talk to him because he was in a wheelchair. And then, long story short, we fell in love and are engaged. And it's just a cool little coincidence that it happened that way. But yeah, that's my story. So when you when somebody asks for your service, like what's the process? Like, is it just counseling, or?
And before I answer that, Whitney, can I go back and share a quick story about my husband, because I think that may help other people who are dating.
Sure.
And on our first date, and I was someone that on my dating profile, I always made it very clear I live with a disability. So he knew that. And on our first date, we get to dinner, and at that point in my dating career, I knew that if I did not bring up having a disability, I would probably not see him again.
Yeah.
And I'm someone that I like to just talk about the elephant in the room. So I said, how are you doing with my disability? And he got huge tears in his eyes and they began rolling down his face. And I thought, oh my gosh, I am never going out on another date again because I made my date cry. But luckily, I done enough from work on myself at that point that I let go with that thought and they just listened to him. And he said, I'm very uncomfortable. And luckily, he said right away, I know it's about me, meaning him, and not you. So he was able to quickly identify that his discomfort with my disability wasn't my problem, but his problem.
Yeah.
So we talked for a good hours at night about his feelings. And I essentially said, you know what? I like you. I would like to get to know you. And Cerebral Palsy will be with me forever. This is who I am. And it was probably the first time I really, in the dating scenario, really stood in my power of this is me. And I would still like to get to know you. I do that rich. So we ended the night. I had no idea if I would hear from him again. These are the days before smartphones, and I had to wait the whole next day to get home from work, check my email, and I got an email from him. And he basically said, well, I still don't know if I can date someone with a disability, but you are so confident and beautiful that I at least need to get to know you.
Yeah.
And that's how we began.
That's really cool. You have a better like I don't know what to call it, but you have better, I guess, self-control than I do, because if a guy told me that at the beginning, I wouldn't have heard him. I wouldn't have heard him out. Like I would have just like wrote it off like, okay, well we're not compatible if you're uncomfortable with my disability, like fine. But like I like how you're showing a different perspective. Like you got like you understood your husband's feelings, and you were willing to hear him out. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
most people wouldn't have done. Most people that I know wouldn't have done that. And
I think what helped is I did not take his discomfort personally, and I didn't take it to be about me.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's a whole different perspective that I was like. That's very cool. Like, yeah. And now look at you, you're married and everything. So it worked out. So
right, and I get to that, so I am so passionate about helping other people with self-esteem and confidence in dating, because I don't know about you, Whitney, but my whole life with a disability, I would say dating was by far the hardest thing to do.
Yes, and like I don't know, like your story or background, but I felt so like when it came to dating, I felt like the only guys only wanted me if we weren't out in public. Like they wanted to date me, but they wanted to date me in private. They didn't want to take me out in public. So that was like a big self-esteem issue for me.
Right.
Because they were all cool when we were at the apartment. But the minute that I wanted to go out in public with it, they were like, they had their reservations, and that was like a telltale sign for me, like maybe this guy isn't for me,
Right.
so yeah, that's just so getting into like your business side of it, or I don't even know if you call it a business side, but like the radiant abilities side of it. How do you walk me through the process of like helping somebody with dating relationships? Like, is it just like do you provide just like a counseling service to like help them get more confident in their dating abilities and like relationships?
Well, I provide a range of things. Just in terms of the counseling, because of how the counseling laws are, I can only counsel people who live in New York State because I'm licensed
Yeah.
by New York State. But what I do provide is I have an online course that a person can take on their own and that walks them through my core pieces about building self-esteem, how you look at your disability, what you want from a relationship, and how to work through problem solving within a relationship. I also do offer coaching that is very specific to dating and relationships. So if someone wants to work with me one-to-one on the unique barriers or situations and work out a plan to help them succeed more at dating, I do the coaching part of it. I also just have a lot of free information and resources on my website about dating. And couple other things I do is once a year I teach a live class online for 6 weeks, and that walks you through self-esteem, confidence, all my core material. With that, I do that live in the small group. And my current project is I'm working on a curriculum for schools and disability organizations that will give teachers and staff a curriculum of how they can work with someone with a disability on dating and relationship issues. And because I didn't know it's a lot of teachers deal with that, and human service agencies, and when they're providing services to people, they often see that too, and many people are seeking guidance and direction.
That's very cool. I like how I think what you're doing is much needed, because I always get people with disabilities. They come to me for advice, and they're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, hey, and like it's hard. Like it's hard to just say that, like, it's coming from my perspective, it's hard to just be like, oh, you just put yourself out there, like that's how you do it. So I really believe in what you're doing, and like, because you're helping, like you said, you're helping people with disabilities gain confidence, and that's the first step when it comes to dating your relationships. And I just want to add this, that I really I think your curriculum is really awesome also, because I used to work in a independent living center, and we would have classes on sex ed classes and like dating relationships, and a lot of my consumers wanted to be in relationships, and they just didn't know like where to start and like all that stuff. So your curriculum would be very helpful in those types of situations. So
Right. I always say that there's such a good wealth of sexuality resources out there, but there's not a lot of dating resources.
yeah,
And how are people can get in the bedroom if they don't have
I was just gonna say that, like first it's dating relationships and then sexual, like that should be the process, like
Right,
um
right.
so I totally agree with you on that. uh um on closing out, after at the end of each episode for Spastic Chatter, I always ask my guests if they have any advice for others in the community. So what is your, I know this is going to be hard for you, but what is one piece of advice you would give somebody that wants to start dating and like talking about relationships and wants to move
I would
forward?
tell them, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I finished.
Yeah. I would tell them that if you have the dream and desire to date and be in relationship, you hang on to that and believe in your ability to have that, and really take a look at yourself and how you feel about yourself. And if you believe in your own ability to attract a person, a relationship in your life that you want.
That's awesome. That's all. So Kathy, where can people follow you on social media?
Okay, well, my website is radiantabilities.com, and right on the homepage of my site, you can enter in your email and get 10 affirmations for dating confidently with a disability. I tend to hang out the most on Facebook and Instagram. They are both Radiant Abilities, and that's Radiant Abilities, ABILITIES. And I do have a Facebook group that I run called Confidently Dating with Disability, which is all about providing encouragement and support for people with disabilities around dating and relationships.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for agreeing to be on Spastic Chatter. I had a really nice time talking with you. And for those of you watching, if you ever want to be on an episode, that you can comment wherever you see this video, or there's a form to fill out in the description. And I have some exciting stuff coming up on Spastic Chatter, so be sure to check back next week for another episode. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Whitney.
Hold on.